Okay, so like I said, today we'll be focusing on one of the major reversal pattern known as the head and shoulder pattern. So write this. Head and shoulder is a trend reversal pattern. Full stop. Trend reversal pattern. Full stop. Or not full stop, comma. Head and shoulder pattern is a trend reversal pattern that you will likely find when an uptrend is exhausting. When an uptrend is exhausting, right? So something is exhausted, it's exhausted, it's about to get finished, right? It's exhausting, comma, and a downtrend is about to form. Full stop. Are we together? Let me know when you've written that. Drop a 7 on the chat box so that I can now explain what we just have. Drop a 7 once you've written that. Okay, so based on what we just wrote down, what we're trying to say is that in summaries, this chart pattern, you know, at the beginning we said is a reversal pattern, right? It's a reversal. So meaning if something is reversing, it must be changing from the previous trend to a new trend. And I said is a trend reversal pattern you find when an uptrend is exhausted, meaning the uptrend must have been the old trend, right? When you now find out the new trend will now be the downtrend. So what it means is you citing this pattern is like saying you're seeing the possible beginning of a new downtrend. Are we together? Do we understand? So write this, notes. This pattern is characterized by a left shoulder, in front of that left shoulder. Now write a previous eye point. A previous eye point or eye zone, something like that. Eye point or eye zone, comma. The head pattern, the head pattern or the head point, in brackets, write the last higher high of the uptrend, then close the brackets. The last higher high of the uptrend. That's like saying the last height that uptrend got to. Have you written that?
Yes.
Okay, now good. Followed by a right shoulder. Followed by a right shoulder. In front of right shoulder, now write the lower high created after the last higher high. This time, the lower high, that's what you're writing in bracket in front of the right shoulder. The lower high created after the last higher high. Full stop. I'm going to explain all of that now in a diagram on the screen. So once you're done, please drop an 8 on the chat box so I can proceed and explain what I mean. Okay, good. Now everybody pay attention. Remember I said, you see this pattern when a downtrend is about to form, right? So what it means is, if the market is going to reverse into a downtrend, what previous trend do we have before you see a possible reversal into a downtrend? Everybody unmute yourself and answer. What previous trend are you likely to
uptrend?
Good, uptrend. So what
Uptrend.
is this? Remember, in an uptrend, the market is always making a series of highs. Who remembers? You're always seeing higher highs,
Yeah.
higher lows. But it's something that looks like this. Let me say we're uptrend. Remember, this pattern forms in an uptrend. So let me do an illustration of something that looks like an uptrend. The market has been moving. So you've been seeing this. Okay, so what I have on my screen is it looking like an uptrend?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Yes, ma'am.
Why can you say it's looking like an uptrend?
Because it's making higher highs and higher lows.
Making a series of higher highs and higher. So then it gets to a point, you see something that looks like this. This becomes like the last high, right? And then instead of the next buy move going up, you see something like this. You know, the pullback. Notice how the pullback move, which is a sell, the previous pullback, is now getting longer and bigger, right? And then you see something like this. It tries to make the next buy move again, but the impulsive move could not break the last high. Are we together? And instead, what happened? What did you notice? What can you notice on my screen? I just want people to comment. You don't have to be right. What can you notice? What did you notice?
Trend line.
It broke out of the trend line, right?
Yes,
but not
ma'am.
just the breaking out of the trend line. Remember what I told you when we're discussing how to spot a possible trend reversal or break. An uptrend is still valid as long as it keeps creating higher highs. Who remembers that?
Yes, ma'am.
So what I mean is this is an higher high, right? Then the next high, the next buy move was larger than the previous buy move. Makes another buy move again, right? Then it gets to another high point. But notice, right after the last high, when the market tried to buy again, what happened? This was the next buy move. Can you see that the next buy move up could not even break the last high, meaning it was now lower. At this point, it's beginning to create lower highs. That's what I mean. So indirectly, you're going to have this part here is where you have the left shoulder. This is the edge. That's why I told you when you wrote your note that you have a left shoulder, which was an higher high. Then you have the edge. The edge will now be like the last higher high point. Like after this high, the market did not go higher. So this is the edge pattern, right? And then instead of the next impulsive move, it became lower. So it's there forming indirectly a trend along this parallel line. But there are common mistakes people make. The fact that this broke out and retested here does not necessarily mean, oh, the market is going to reverse right away. Are we together, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Some mistakes people make. Not naturally, if I ask you and I, yes, this thing has broken out of the uptrend, is it not? It even came here and retested. I hope we still remember how to mark out our zones and charts. You can see there's like a resistance to the left and right. The market hit that resistance and broke down. But this is not a guarantee that this downtrend is certain until still that same principle I taught you before then. I told you it has to break. Who remembers I said if it's breaking down, it needs to break the very next support. Who remembers that when I was teaching us? And I said if a trend is breaking down, it has to break this up or break this down. So this immediate support is what they call the neckline. Neckline. Let me erase this one so it doesn't confuse you. Good. So this is like saying this is the edge, this is the left shoulder, this is the right shoulder, right? It needs to break down below this before you can say, oh, we are now having a downtrend. So what most traders normally do is to wait for the market to break out of this neckline and then they join the move. But you see, there's something I still want you to note. when you look at the trend, how long that trend has been also matters. Let's say, for instance, I saw a trend line, probably I went on the daily time frame. I saw a trend line that has been forming for about a year, right? Or the market has been respecting that trend line for like 6-8 months. Meaning each time the market got to the trend line, it moves up. Let's say we are dealing with an uptrend. Let's assume this trend line now is like a 6 months trend line. What it means is you have a lot of candles, right? So let's say I'm on a daily chart and that trend has been on for like 6 months, meaning you have plenty of daily candles that will make up a 6 months. Who agrees with me? Because let's say 30 days in a month. 30 days make 1 month, is it not?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I'm saying
Yes.
the daily chart that's been on for 6 months, what I'm saying is like each candle is like saying for a month, I've already seen like 30 candles because I'm dealing with a daily candle on a monthly time frame. So 30 candles will make 1 month, is it not? So if I'm now
Yes.
going to 6 months, that's like saying 30 times 6, 180 candles, right? And now suddenly see the head and pattern now form for like, let's say a week. Going by daily candles, how many candles will be in a week? That's like 7 candles, is it not? Or let's even say it formed in 2 weeks. I'm only saying 14 candles that form this head and shoulder pattern. Compared to how long that trend has been respected, I would not automatically say, oh, it's going to reverse. I don't know if you get my point. Because
Yes,
that trend has been a long time. So it's like saying a 2 weeks fight. It could just be ranging and then it will still break out. That's why sometimes you see the market will look as if it has broken out of the uptrend previously. All of a sudden it will continue. How many of you have noticed that before? Have you
yes.
ever done a large and that happened to you?
Yes,
In fact,
ma'am.
I'm telling
Yes.
Madam to call because there was one hero JPY.
Yeah.
It was nice to give. We had something like this, right?
Yes.
When I saw that pattern, I smiled because we've not gotten to this this particular training, so I didn't want to go for that. But yes, it was a downtrend. But I knew because that downtrend, if you had gone on monthly time frame, there was this pattern that was formed on that Euro JPY. But that trend has been a long-term trend, so I know that that pattern might fail just to align with the long-term trend of the market. So there are some mistakes you don't want to make. Yes, how do we trade it? It's good you wait for the breakout of the zone here, but then you also need to confirm alongside the trend. Are we together? Do we understand? So
Yes.
that you see an head and shoulder pattern does not necessarily mean because you're going to spot it a lot of time. This pattern works like magic. I love to trade it. So it doesn't mean that, oh, I've spotted the head and pattern shoulder. Oh, it has broken neckline. Let me jump in. No. Before you do that, also consider the overall trend. So write this down. How to trade the head and shoulder pattern. How to trade the head and shoulder pattern. How to trade the head and shoulder pattern. So first write this down under the notes so that I don't forget because you need when you refer back to it. Notes. Notes. An uptrend might not necessarily reverse just because you saw an head and pattern shoulder. Comma.
Please, I didn't get that.
Notes.
Wow.
You know, remember we said the head and shoulder pattern indicates that the market wants to reverse in an uptrend to a downtrend, right? So in your note, I'm now saying
Yes.
the uptrend might not necessarily reverse just because you saw an head and pattern shoulder. This is just like a note. That's not how to trade it yet. I'm going to give you how to trade, but I want you to write those notes down. So always take that into consideration. So notes, the uptrend might not necessarily reverse just because you spotted an head and shoulder pattern. Have you written that down?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, right. Always consider the strength and duration of a trend. Of a trend when selling based on the head and pattern shoulder. Full stop. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
This was what I explained when I was using like that 6-month trend against a 2-week formation. That was what I mean. That's what I just have you write in that your notes so that in case of next time. Now, let's write how to trade the head and pattern shoulder. Number one way to trade it. One, number one way. Trade the retest. Trade the retest. The retest. Now, in front of that, let me explain. This means you enter the sell around the neckline or the support that got broken. Or the support that got broken. Full stop. When trading the retest, comma, ensure you have a confirmation candle for your entry around that neckline. Ensure you have a confirmation candle. I hope you understand what I mean by that. Let me know when you put that down so I can explain. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. This is what I mean. Remember, your shoulder is always standing on, what's it called? Your shoulder is around your neck. So that's what we mean by neckline. This is it. We said this is the left shoulder, is it not? And right shoulder. So your shoulder is sitting on top of what? Your neck. But in this case, that neck must have been a previous support because it was a support here, right? Support. Moved up to form this. So what we are saying is the market needs to break below that support first for you to be able to guarantee that, oh, this market is going to sell. It needs to break. So when it breaks, what can you do? How can you enter? First off, it breaks. After the break, remember I would trade the break and retest. We'll tell you, wait for the market to come back into that zone, which is the same zone we're talking about, the support that now became new resistance, right? When it comes into that zone, are you jumping in? No. Remember we told you there are candles you must see. We learned about the pin bar. We remember. We learned about the engulfing candle. We remember. We learned about the zone. Now, if I see any of those candles close in that zone, note, it's always important for you to wait for the candle to close. You can't make a decision on the candle that has not closed. I hope we still remember that. So let's say I now can engulfing candles close around that same zone it came to retest. And a bearish engulfing candle, I will pick my entry. And by that time, you would have seen, if you draw a trend line, can you see this trend line is now like 3 points? We've seen that there is 1 already, there is 2. So anytime it's still 2, 1, 2 like this pattern is not fully formed, especially when you're talking about an head and shoulder. So one way to trade this is, I want to break out of this support structure, which is where I'm waiting for the market to come back into that zone and do a retest, and I join it. Do you understand that?
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
understand that,
Yes.
great. Now, another way to trade it, number 2. Now, just before I go into that, right? This is a general assumption that, okay, when you enter the sell here, Your normal stop loss for this kind of structure, the stop loss is always around the edge, just above the edge. So what we believe is if this market breaks above the edge structure, it's no longer valid. Are we together? But for me, that's too wide a stop loss because sometimes you could put it just above the right shoulder, and then the market will still play back into that right shoulder with a long wick, and then it will still drop down. You now see the candle closing below. So they don't normally put the stop loss above the right shoulder. Some believe the best bet is above the edge structure. But for me, that's too wide. Is it not? Like, let's say you wanted to come for this next level, I'm risking too much. Remember your risk to reward ratio. So this is another way to trade it. Well, some could put their stop loss just right above the right shoulder, but remember, you could hit the stop loss still head down. So that's why I agree that the best bet is just above the head. But let me give you another way to trade it. Number 2. Are we together? Look for a build up. 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 Can I go on and explain that?
Yes, ma'am.
A build up into the support that looks like a ranging market. Can be traded when it breaks to the downside. When it breaks to the downside, come on. Come on. Therefore, you can now put your stop loss above the build up or the short range. You can put it above the build up or above the range. Come on. Instead of you putting it above the edge, above the button. Stop. Have we written that?
Yes, ma'am.
Note, this will always increase your reward to risk, meaning you make more than what you're risking. Or you can give you a good risk to reward ratio. So I can explain what I mean by that. Are we together?
Yes. You said this will always increase the reward to what? That was where I stopped.
Reward to risk ratio, or you can say you get a good risk to reward ratio. By risk to reward ratio, remember
Right.
for that, let's say you're risking 1, you should be getting at least nothing less than 2, 3, 4. So if I'm risking $1, I should be able to make $4, $3, like times 3, than you risking 1. Imagine in a scenario where you were putting your stop loss here above the head, and then this is your take profit. Probably one of you, some people, you are very scared when you start trading. Instead of you waiting for the market to get to this junction, you want to exit here. So if you enter here and you're exiting here, probably it's 50 pips. And then the stop loss is like 100. In that case, what happened? It's not worth it. Your risk to reward is not favorable. Yes or no? In that scenario, good. But let's say you're coming down, you would have been making, but this pattern now, let me explain this, how this will now look. Sometimes, it's not every time the market will just break with momentum. Bam. No. Sometimes you must have observed, it will look as if the market is ranging. small, especially after it makes a very long move. Maybe it's sold at, first of all, you have to break this downtrend. So probably it's sold with a very big momentum. Did a pullback and then at some point, probably the market got, tired, right? Start ranging. Haven't you noticed something? Start ranging instead of breaking immediately to a range. In that range, creating a series of short candles. You'll be seeing it still within that same zone. It has not broken down. If you start observing that, you see plenty of this. It's a range. How many of you have noticed sometimes? Was it hero against that ranging? Who noticed that? Creating some short candles. Has anybody noticed that?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So in this range, hold on, I want to remove this bigger one. Good. So see what I'm drawing? Indirectly, what's it doing? It's creating like a small level of support and resistance. It keeps bouncing off and on. Yes or no? From what I'm experiencing.
Yes.
Good. So the fact that each time you try to buy, the buyers could not even push it up would tell me that okay, good, this market sellers are still in control. Does not want to move. I'm going to draw another one. Okay, let me put this, just hold it. It goes like this. It goes. Eventually, you'll see that it has been able to create like a mini support and resistance. Is it not? Yeah. So eventually, probably at this point, it got to this trend line that has been coming, and then it breaks. So this time, let's say when it was selling, it now succeeded in doing what? Breaking. Like that last sell move that came into this support now breaks, right? So in this case, what do? I want to trade it. I could enter the break of this structure when it comes to retest, or enter immediately broke that support. And because that's a new resistance, instead of me to go and pull my stop loss here, I could pull my stop loss just right above this one. That's why I said your stop loss could now be at the end of the range. Because where is the range? New range from? This was the new range, meaning it went up, come down, went up, come down. Create like a short ranging market. So it now succeeded in breaking to the downside, still making this pattern valid, head and shoulder breaking to the. I'll now put my stop loss above the resistance of this range. So imagine what I'm risking. I'm risking from this point to this point because this is my entry zone. Yes or yes. Or even if I enter around here, let's say the market came back to retest, or I entered immediately broke. I'm making very little compared to me going to TP1 level here and then this TP2 level below. Do we understand?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't understand at this in the case, so that's another way to trade it. It's better for me because I'll be risking little to go get more. That's one way you can trade. Now the third way you can trade this back. The first pullback, right there. The first pullback. And down the first pullback. Can enter on the first pullback. Now let me explain that, like you're still writing notes. Sometimes you discover that the markets might not pull back into the neckline. That's the previous support. Discover that the market might not pull back into the neckline area after it breaks out. That the market might not pull back into the neckline area after it breaks. This is the neckline area I'm referring to in that your notes. Meaning that sometimes after it breaks, it might not pull back into the neckline area, but rather but rather incorporating some series of small buy candles that looks like a flag pattern. That looks like a flag pattern. Or you can write that looks like a bearish flag pattern. Comma. In this case, you can enter a cell. In this case, you can enter a cell when it breaks out of that flag pattern. You can enter a cell when the market breaks out of that flag pattern. Have your stop loss just above that pattern. Just above the flag pattern. Good stop. Are we all there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Don't mind my drawing. It's hard to draw this one because it's more of characters. But this is what I mean. It may not get to that. Remember, we have the neckline, but instead of that, it might form something like a short pullback. You ever seen something like this before? You know, what I'm now drawing there, it's like it, like right, a trend line that as if it's buying. All of a sudden, one of the candles after buying up a bit, this particular one just break out of the pattern. This pullback pattern before. Once you break, you enter on the break of that pattern and you sell to the next zone below. So in this case, your stop loss will be where above this pattern, where the trend line of the pattern is. So this way, what are you doing? You're still risking it. Do we get? Instead of you putting stop loss here, it's now be just above that pattern. Because sometimes, remember I've told you before that it's not every time the market breaks out that it does a pullback. Who remember? I've told you that sometimes it does not do a full pullback. Remember,
Yeah.
sometimes you go 61.8 and then you notice that some charts it never comes to 61.8. You just keep moving away and you miss the entries, right? It might now give you an opportunity later, but it could be after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Even you yourself, you'll have forgotten about that trade. So once you see forming something that looks like a pullback pattern, meaning it's doing like short candles of buys, right? When you want to experience a major pullback, the candles are always big. The ones that will likely come into the zone will be like, pullback in a sell is always buy candles, yes or no? The pullbacks for a sell trend is buy
Yes.
candles.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So the ones that will most likely do a major pullback, that they are going into momentum into the zone. That's why we say before you sell in the zone, wait for the candles to close so that you know that sellers are in charge. But you see, in this case, the candles might be very tiny. The movement set is not fast, not showing plenty momentum. It will just be short, but you'll be seeing gradually that it's like it's moving up. Eventually, it will be forming like support, resistance, support, resistance, support. Eventually, it will now break to the downside. You enter on that break. Immediately, a candle closes outside this short uptrend it forms. You pick your entry and join it and put your Excel. So those are the 3 ways you can trade this pattern. Do we understand? So we can now go on the chart and try to see if we can identify this pattern. Remember, there is always, for you to call it an head and shoulder, the head must be higher than the left shoulder and the right shoulder. Meaning, after the market made some series of highs, it must get to a point, instead of making the next high, they created something that looks like a lower high. If you got value, or you understood what I just explained, can you please put a 9 on the chat box? Great. Okay, I'm seeing those series of 9. So now I'm gonna go on. Let me make myself co-host. I'll go on the MT4 and try to identify a possible head and shoulder pattern, and then you too would identify this pattern, ladies and gentlemen. So get ready. Let's see. Who will suggest the currency pair we should go to?
Euro USD.
Euro USD. Is it because you want to trade Euro USD, man? Okay, but let's go to Euro USD. She has said Euro USD. Let me share my screen. Okay. So Euro USD, we are down. Okay, good. Did anybody see anything from my screen? So to identify this pattern, what you just need to do, remember, it's a reversal pattern to the downside. So you look for an existing uptrend that broke, and you want to see whether it formed this pattern just before you. So remember, there must be an the highest point is it bought to before it started reversing. So do you think this is an head and shoulder pattern on my screen? Nobody's saying anything. Okay, wait, let me go on daily, because that one I saw is not head and shoulder. Okay. Although this one is already on a downtrend, so this one might not fly. But remember, we say we'll see it at the end of an uptrend. Let me go and look for an uptrend that became a downtrend. I'm seeing something like that, yeah, but I don't want to use that to teach you because this is a downtrend. But can anybody see the head, yeah? In this place I marked out. You seeing like an head, left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's how that pattern looks. But this is not a valid one. You know why? Because I should have been seeing something like this that kept, meaning there must have been an uptrend that went all this way up, right? Meaning I would have seen, look, like a complete uptrend. I don't know if you get what I mean. The uptrend would have been like all the way to the past, like I drew this up. Then probably got to this high point at the end. It created this head. It could not go higher again. Now created this by the shoulder, the right shoulder. And you see when he broke the right shoulder, what happened? The market did what? Pulled back into that level. Who saw it?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the place I'm referring to on my screen? Can you see what now I told you the market would do something like a pullback back to that, and then it will sell. Are we together? Or I'm talking to myself?
I'm right here, ma'am. Here, ma'am.
No, you are not.
Okay, so let's assuming that this my uptrend was the market coming all the way from down up. You're not seeing this part that it was selling, right? Let's say it bought all the way. I'm still gonna look for another place because you want us to use Euro USD. So this would have been the left shoulder, right? It created an eye here. Created the highest eye at this point. At this point, what was not creating another eye again. They're going lower. You now created a lower eye. Remember when you were writing the lower eye? And I said you only check when it breaks the neckline, the neck support. Can you see the support?
Yes.
Broke this support. So the moment it broke out of the trend line, you can see it came as like a recess. That recess is that what formed that right shoulder. But it's not a guarantee that we're on a downtrend until it breaks the neck. And you can see it broke that neckline. So remember what we traded. We're either waiting for a retest, right? To pull back into that neckline area. So this was a practical good example. And sometimes look at the flag pattern I'm talking about. Okay, let's say this did not move here, but probably it has been selling. This is similar flag pattern to create a short flag pattern and then break it. You can see this look like very short candles I was talking about for the third way to trade this. So if I entered on the break of this pattern, what I would do simply is my stop loss. Where did I tell you your stop loss would be? Above the flag, which is here, my stop loss would be here. This level. I would have entered probably around there and sell down to the left. So this is a typical example of the one I told you, the third one that I told you it forms a flag pattern. I use the flag. So sometimes, but we're not having perfect examples right now, sir. But I'm showing you how that flag looks like. What I told you, the first pullback. I told you to create a series of short kind, right? This is the scenario. Do we understand, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me go and another see whether we'll have we always find this very often. It's very blatant. It's one strong and that works well. Let me see. Okay, I think this zero JPY what's on it was it's like here. Who remembers this? Hmm? Are you seeing the pattern here?
Yes, ma'am.
The left shoulder, the edge, so that edge formed another pattern. That pattern was called top, or even triple. But let's see that. So it created like an edge, shoulder, right shoulder became validated. So it's supposed to break this neckline, right? What happened? Did the market break this neckline?
No.
Who can tell me if the market broke the neckline? Eh? Talk now. I need to be sure you people understand it.
The market didn't break the trend line, went back up.
The neckline, that's what I said. Remember, I told you to trade this pattern, the market must break the neckline. I said at the beginning that it's not enough for the market to break out of the uptrend. Who remembers? This first broke out of the uptrend and form a downtrend. But I said once they break out, you want to see it break the neckline. The neckline is the support under, right? And that's the one I put 2 lines around that 134. But what did the market do? It didn't break. As long as it not break that neckline, that yourself or this pattern would have been validated. It not becomes normal or correct if it broke. And that's what you're saying. You can see. Instead, what the market do is going up, right? It formed something like a range. Remember the first scenario I told you? I said you want a build up, something to build up and break down. Do you remember that in your notes? That I said it would break a build up. So assuming the way this thing build up, that build up is a I told you before. Assuming when it was ranging, it broke to the downside. Great. This pattern would have been completed and your stop loss will probably be where I put that line around 138 for 130. Because that was Sorry, hello? Are we together?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, a call came in. Let me check this. Okay, I think it's recording. So, when was I? Before I was interrupted. What was I? Where did I stop?
Ma, we're still on the Euro JPY.
Okay, so all right, JPY, yeah. I was showing you the case of the Bitcoin, you know, that assuming it broke the Bitcoin, remember I told you there are ways to trade good. If this had formed like the range, every time it will just break, come out straight up. From the range, and it breaks that next one. You would have put the top loss. I said around this 1.6413, because that would have been the resistance of the range, and then you sell to the next one. So what actually invalidated this pattern put off was because it did not break the neckline. Are we together, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
we together, or I'm no longer blissful?
The network, I don't know if it's my network, but it's fluctuating. So that's why I'm not really
It's
Yes.
answering.
fluctuating on Sabina's end too.
Ma, I'm also experiencing the same thing, ma. I was thinking I even ask you for the video later on. I thought it was my network.
Yes.
Okay, I
I was
think
thinking it was
maybe
my network
it's my
too.
network then. Maybe it's my network. So, is it better now?
Yes, yes. But it's still having this sound at the background.
Okay, is it much better?
Yes, I can hear you better now.
Okay, so that's basically how the oh sorry, I've been hearing something else. That's basically how the pattern works, ladies and gentlemen. So the assignment I'm going to give you now is simple. You're going to look for, don't come and give me a scenario of a downtrend. Look for an uptrend that ended looking like this pattern. Are we together?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
look for an uptrend scenario
Yes, ma'am.
that forms this head and shoulder pattern. So when you screenshot, you're going to show me the left shoulder, the right shoulder, and left shoulder. You can circle those zones. Then you now put, listen to the assignment. When you see the structure, either on H4 or daily, you have to show me either on daily or H4. You circle the head after you screenshot it. Circle the left shoulder, circle the right shoulder. Then the neckline, you now draw an horizontal line around the neck, right? That's broken. You explain to me, it broke, they retest, and then it's so my stop loss will be at so zone, right? You know, I gave you 3 instances of how you can trade. So you're going to tell me whether it was a build up, it broke the neckline with a build up, if it has already broken. It broke with a build up, so plus or came back and retested the neckline. Normal. So my stop loss is also here. Or like a flat pattern broke out. You understand the assignment?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I want on this particular pattern. The next class will also be inverted and to one or further patterns with this also. Any question?
No, ma.
No question. So what it means is anybody sees this pattern, you can identify it. Is it not? So you want to watch out for them based on those indications. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be expecting you. Please, your assignment, send them in early. When you just learn, I remember I told you it's always better that day or tomorrow. Anyone who delays the assignment till Wednesday is your assignment on Wednesday. Latest tomorrow. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have an
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am.